Okay, so while we're moving that along, at least we've had an opportunity to really get responses from everyone who's on the phone about what their background is. So it looks like we've got a nice mix of folks, a lot of people who are current program staff, but also some technical assistance providers, and I really am excited to hear some school staff and district level staff as well. So let me then move on just to tell you a little bit about the New York State Afterschool Network. We are a public-private partnership that works to promote young people's safety, learning, and healthy development outside the traditional classroom. We're very lucky that we have a number of fantastic public and private partners, including our state-level education department and Office of Children and Family Services. We also support the work of 8 regional networks across New York State, and they really work to create peer-to-peer learning, to do local support, and increase access at their local level. For those of you who are in New York and not involved in one of your networks, I certainly encourage you to reach out. We would be thrilled to have your engagement. Today's presentation is going to kick off. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about a paper that NYSAN recently released on this topic. But then we're going to be very lucky to hear from 3 fantastic experts in what is happening on the ground in some high-quality ELOs across New York. And they're going to talk specifically about how they are fostering strong school-community partnerships through their ELO work. Krista Camarada is the Director of After-School Programs at the YWCA in Jamestown. Lisa Hilly is the Director of Education for NYSAN, Resources for Learning in Rochester. And Allie Tan is the Portfolio Director for the Fund for Public Schools as part of the New York City Department of Education. We're going to save all questions for the end so that we really have time to have a robust conversation based on all the different insights you're getting from these providers. So just briefly to let you know, NYSAN published a report, The Role of Expanded Learning Opportunities in New York State School Reform in late September. And that report can be downloaded for free from our website. We are also going to be releasing in the next few weeks a series of brief one-page deep dives into some of our key recommendations from that report. And for those of you who are interested, please do sign up for our serve off NYSAN's website to get those updates. We really want to thank the Council of Chief State School Officers, the Charles Mott Foundation, and the Wallace Foundation for the funding that made this project possible. The key context here for this paper is really the changes that have been happening in New York State and at the national level on how we want to reform our schools. And again, this information is probably pretty basic and familiar for everybody, but part of the goal of this report is really to give school and community leaders the opportunity to have some common language about how ELOs can impact school reform efforts. And that in part leads to meeting community-based organizations wanting to understand what the pressures are that are facing school and district leaders right now. So there's 3 major national contexts that have really shaped school reform here in New York, and for those of you who are from elsewhere in the Northeast, very much the same there. The Race to the Top competition, which really put forward some national ideas about how school systems and state school systems might be reformed. New York was lucky enough to be a winner in that work, and it really has, we hear routinely from our state education department partners, really shaped the focus of how state ed is conceiving of school and principal relationships, teacher effectiveness, and overall sort of school turnaround efforts. The second is the release of the Common Core State Standards, which I know many of you have already given a lot of thought to, but really are designed to push college and career readiness by looking at what students need to be able to achieve when they graduate from high school to function in college, and then working backwards to understand where people need to be in earlier grades. And one of the very exciting things for the expanded learning opportunity community is that these Common Core standards really do embrace some of the youth development values that we have been putting forward for decades, really focusing on developing problem-solving skills, helping students think about themselves as engaged, committed learners, helping students take responsibility for some of their own educational and research efforts. Then finally, as I know many of you are very aware, the Obama administration last year announced that they would be granting waivers from some requirements of the Elementary and Secondary Education Act, more commonly known as No Child Left Behind. And that too has really changed how state education departments are thinking about how they assist some of their persistently lowest achieving schools. And that too is really going to shape partnerships for community-based organizations that are working with those schools. Here in New York, the specific context that we really are looking at trying to improve include the fact that New York State has the 38th high school graduation rate in the nation, despite the fact that we have some of the highest per pupil spending in the nation. And that at our state university community colleges, between 40 and 70% of students require remediation when they arrive. And that's a challenging statistic for us to really think about how we can help students graduate from high school ready to really go on to college and career. So the two main goals of New York State school reform really are to prepare students to be college and career ready and to turn around our persistently lowest performing schools. And so we have really structured our paper and our research to really help community-based organizations and ELO partnerships think through how they can work together to meet those two goals. In New York State, this work has really taken the drive from some of the state education department's directives to districts around implementing the Common Core, around developing teacher and principal evaluations that include student test scores as well as locally chosen measures, which are frequently teacher observations, that are using those evaluations then to make decisions about hiring and retaining teachers and principals. They also have set out some approved models for whole school reform and are looking to see low-performing schools adopt those models. So for community-based organizations looking to work with school districts in a close partnership, it's helpful to understand some of these pressures that currently are directing where the superintendents and school principals are focusing a lot of their thinking. And the goal really is to improve student outcomes for all students, and subgroups such as English language learners and students with disabilities are becoming an increasing focus. And that, again, is a real opportunity for community-based organizations working with their ELOs to really think about how they can serve those subgroups of students better, can really help schools meet challenges in really meeting the needs of those particular students. We have defined expanded learning opportunities very broadly here in New York State, and you'll be hearing today actually from presenters who work in more traditional after-school contexts, in more extended day contexts, and in summer learning contexts. But we really, in general, believe that one of the core definitions of a strong expanded learning opportunity is really that school community partnership. And that's really the focus of a lot of today's presentation. We found in reviewing the research that has been done across the nation in the last few years on expanded learning opportunities that there is good evidence that ELOs contribute to school reform efforts in two key ways. The first is that regular participation in a high-quality ELO program really can increase student outcomes in terms of graduation and promotion rates, in terms of school attendance, engagement with school, and also, and this often is unfortunately the area where there's the most urgency for a lot of schools right now in academic test scores. ELOs are also really crucial for the ways that they level the playing field for disadvantaged students. So ELOs really function as an opportunity to develop passion. I think that that's something we don't necessarily always think about as a core part of student achievement. But there have been a lot of very interesting speakers and writers talking particularly in the STEM field, but it's also obviously very true in arts, in sports, and any kind of enrichment and hands-on activity. That giving students that opportunity to really dive deeply into a subject, to get excited, to get engaged, then translates into their commitment to their career and their future going forward. So as you will be hearing in more depth from my three presenters, we really did identify that the sort of core part of alignment of ELOs with school reform is to really focus on how you strengthen that school-community partnership, to make sure that the values that the community-based organization bring around youth development, around focusing on social, emotional development, on really understanding how you can help a student develop as a whole child, not just as a basic academic measure or as a test score, really get brought into this conversation, but that the community-based organization also has sensitivity to where the school is and what they're teaching, how they can work to support the school's approach. One way that ELOs do this very well is by providing opportunities for project-based learning. Project-based learning really is an opportunity that aligns very nicely with the expectations of the Common Core standards. It gives students an opportunity to develop deep problem-solving and analytic skills. And there are some fantastic opportunities, some fantastic programs described in our report. But just to give you one brief example, a program in Brooklyn, a partnership between a school and Edible Schoolyard, has actually taken the school garden as a way to structure lessons where students will work in the garden, learning about pollination, and then they'll go back to the classroom and they'll learn about bee colony collapse and write a letter to the editor talking about interventions that their local government should take to help protect bees. There's an ongoing cycle. They'll read something about gardening and then go out and work in the garden and sort of go back and forth between the academic and the hands-on to really strengthen their understanding of what they're reading, but also give intellectual context to some of the hands-on skills they're developing. Very importantly, particularly for schools that are persistently lowest achieving and struggling to get enough resources into their support for their students, ELOs really do have the opportunity to bring new community voices, new resources into the school, whether it be teaching artists or local scientists or the local business folk. I've seen a recent opportunity, very interesting, in Corning, New York, where the Rockwell Museum of Western Art has developed a great partnership with the local high school where they're providing a multi-week intensive art program that both draws on the museum's collection, has a teaching artist to help kids develop technical skills, but also has a strong social-emotional curriculum underlying it that helps students figure out ways to use art to increase their ability to communicate difficult and complicated emotions and relationships. It's a way of bringing some tremendous resources to the school that might not be available in a traditional school day format, and without that school-community partnership. ELOs also create real opportunities to improve overall school climate and school safety. We talked to a Beacon director in Queens not too long ago who used the phrase that his program is where his kids work out everything they can't during the school day. It's an opportunity for them to bring the conflicts they had with a classmate into a situation where there's time for an adult mentor to help teach them conflict resolution skills. It's a way to bring the problems that they're having at home into a situation where they can develop coping skills for handling them. And that opportunity then feeds back into the regular school day where the student is less stressed, has better management skills, might be bringing less conflict into the classroom. And this opportunity for school-community partnership in this area can actually be formalized as well. Rochester City Schools, and through their Summer Scholars Program, has actually co-trained their traditional school day staff and their after-school and enrichment staff on positive behavioral interventions and supports, PBIS, so that there's complete consistency in the way that that program is being implemented between the traditional school day and the after-school program, so that there's constant reinforcement of those responsibilities, self-discipline skills. And that obviously feeds back into a great overall climate over time. And finally, ELOs really do have this, through this youth development lens, a real commitment to engaging families and community. Many ELOs encourage their students to do substantial service learning, which is a topic you'll hear about in another webinar later in the year. And also provide great parent resources. The Children's Aid Society, through their community schools, has really invested in having set aside parent resource rooms and parent liaisons, and using the fact that after-school programs run late into the evening when parents are coming home from work to really leverage the opportunity to provide parent workshops, parent hands-on activities that get parents engaged in their students' education. So you'll see in our report that we closed by taking a look at the tenets for school and district effectiveness that the New York State Education Department has put forward, and really looking at how ELOs can actually support schools and districts in meeting each of those tenets. And this becomes very important here in New York, and I suspect again in many other states, because those tenets are driving the expectations for school improvement plans that schools and districts are putting forward to help figure out how to support their persistently lowest achieving schools. So again, there is a real opportunity for alignment there that we are excited to see many school community partnerships stepping up to support. Before I move on to a few of the recommendations that we made in the report, it would be actually very helpful to get a sense from all of you on the phone about where you see challenges right now in achieving effective school community partnerships. I've put forward a number of possibilities. I'm sure that there are more, and I welcome people to share those in the chat feature as well. But it is very helpful to understand as we think about going forward how we can better support these partnerships. And it looks like we're getting some good responses in there. Let me give people another moment or two to do that before we move on. And it does look like data sharing is really jumping up to the top there, which I think is an important one to know about. All right, so we're going to skip to the results and move on. You can see data sharing and then some of the challenges around joint planning time, both the cost, scheduling, and quite frankly the interest there. And one of our presenters, actually two of our presenters are going to speak in some depth about planning time. So the recommendations that we put forward in our report really fall into four general categories. The first is the importance of increasing access to high-quality ELOs. And high-quality ELOs provide both academic enrichment and social-emotional development. We want to constantly stress in our conversations with schools and school leaders that it is not enough just to help students have more time on their academics, that we really need to be helping them develop those non-cognitive skills, the persistence, the confidence, the social relationships, both with their peers and with adults, that are going to allow them to succeed as they move forward in life. Here in New York, under our ESEA waiver, priority schools, which are our persistently lowest achieving schools, are going to be required to add 200 additional hours of student contact time in the next few school years. And we're very much hoping that our districts and our state education department will really think seriously about how they can use existing high-quality community partners to work on those additional hours so that, again, it's meeting more and different needs for those students. We also really are encouraging regions across the state to bring together their regional networks, their BOCES, their districts, their school leaders, their county leaders, their city leaders, to think about overall regional planning and assessment of capacity for expanded learning opportunities. In places where some of that regional planning has taken place, there's been real opportunities to see where there are gaps and where both program quality and program accessibility can be expanded. And finally, let's be honest, we need increased funding if we're going to be able to increase access. The second set of recommendations really has to do with creating accountability among the states, the districts, schools, and community-based organizations for developing and maintaining these strong partnerships. Strong partnerships require a lot of things. They require shared governance. They require joint professional development. They require data sharing. They require weekly or monthly planning. They require some annual planning. And they require accountability, that everyone is going to show up and participate. And this starts really from the top with the state saying that this is a valuable set of resources that districts should engage. But it runs through the district and through the principals making it a priority to learn how to effectively reach out to their community-based organizations and leverage the resources that they bring to the classroom. It also has strong importance for community-based organizations to work to learn on how to reach out to their principals and to work with them effectively. We are encouraging, in particular, that the new data system that's being built by the State Education Department that to track student achievement and growth from pre-kindergarten through college, that they consider adding data on expanded learning opportunities into that system so that can become part of what school districts know about how their students are doing and what we know from research longitudinally about student growth and outcomes.
Does internet work?
We also, the third set of recommendations, the third group of recommendations, is really around the importance of increased guidance to districts and schools and community-based organizations in key areas. Data sharing, as all of you highlighted in your pull report, one. We also, those call out concerns about school building usage fees, transportation, and the use of professional development funds as area where increased clarity and guidance really can help programs effectively share resources without friction and in the best interest of student access. And finally, our last set of recommendations really has to do with expanding the quality of expanded learning opportunities curriculums and making sure that all of the expanded learning opportunities that are excited about joining into the Common Core conversation are really given the opportunity to leverage their expertise in project-based learning and hands-on activities in promoting social and emotional growth in addition to academic growth through the curriculums that are being developed for Common Core activities. And successfully, to be successful about this, this is going to require some professional development opportunities that not only help ELO staff learn about the Common Core, but also help teachers, principals, and ELO staff learn how to plan together so that, again, they are maximizing the use of their joint resources to really improve student achievement using the multiple different ways that traditional school day and ELO opportunities can offer students. So that's a quick overview of NYSAN's report. I do hope that many of you will download it from the website if you haven't already. We're going to take questions, as I said, at the end, because I really want you to hear from some folks who are making this work on the ground before we sort of dive into that conversation. We are going to start with Krista Camarada, who is the Director of Afterschool Programming for the YWCA in Jamestown. And she's going to be talking to you specifically about some of the really interesting ways found to facilitate school and community-based organization partnerships. Krista, are you on?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I just don't have access to my slides, so.
That's fine. I just moved you to the first one.
All right, great. I just wanted to give you a little overview. The YW here in Jamestown oversees 4 programs. We have 2 elementary sites and 2 middle school sites, and we serve about 235 children. What we do is we hold monthly partner meetings. We're very fortunate that our site coordinators at each site has an actual office in the school. So if their office is large enough, we hold our partner meeting in their office. If not, we hold it in one of the boardrooms in the school. Who attends our meeting is myself, obviously my site coordinator at each different site, Jamestown Public Schools 21st Century Grant Director, our coordinator for Chautauqua Striders, which Chautauqua Striders provides us tutoring and homework help, tutors for each of our programs, and of course the principal attends the meeting. Our agenda, we start out as a group, we're told ahead of time what 2 elements of NYSAN we're going to be covering, so each person completes that and brings it to the meeting with them. We don't necessarily go through each individual element or each individual one on the element, but if somebody has a question about something, or a lot of times the site coordinator will feel they're struggling in an area, so they'll say, hey, can we talk about this area? I'd like some ideas or help on how to improve. And a lot of times we revisit what we did last year and say, this is where we said we were going to improve. Have we improved? Then the meeting moves on. The site coordinator takes over and discusses the current progress of enrollment. They also touch on any special events they've held in the past month, whether it be a family night or a lights on event. They let us know the attendance, how many parents attended, what types of things they did at the event. For new programming, we change our programming every 9 weeks. We run on a 9-week block where the site coordinators create a schedule, and these are the different activities that the children will do for those 9 weeks. Then we move on to any upcoming events. If the site coordinator is planning any family nights for the upcoming month, we let everybody know at this time. That way everybody can mark their calendar and hopefully attend the family event. And then we also let all of our partners know if we have hired any new employees. Once the site coordinator is done, it's time for the principal's report. He or she, depending, each site is different. Each site obviously has its own culture. So depending on how involved the principal is, some principals tell us a wealth of information, every little thing that's happening during the school day, upcoming tests, different behaviors on children that we need to look out for. This really is a time where we gain a lot of information from the principal about how we can extend the school day learning. Next up is the Chautauqua Striders Coordinators Report. They let us know how the tutoring and homework help is going, let us know if they've hired any new tutors. Then the Grants Director's Report, she lets us know if there's any news on grants, new grants coming up, or she also shares with us a wealth of information on different resources that she has available to us, different curriculum that we share with the school district. She just shares tons of information with us. And then it's my report, which I tend to share either ideas that I've heard at other partner meetings so that I can make sure all sites are on the same page and doing the same things. And the one thing I'll say is most important is before you adjourn the meeting to schedule your date for your next meeting. It's extremely difficult to, by email with 5, 6, 7 people with different schedules to schedule a meeting. So we always tend to schedule it before everybody leaves that meeting so that we're, again, all on the same page and have it in our calendars. The results that we've seen from these meetings have been that we definitely have more opportunities to extend the school day learning. By the principals sharing with us what's going on during the school day, we're able to kind of tweak our schedules or create activities that relate to what's happening during the school day. For example, right now, our 4th graders are working on Native American projects. So the site coordinators know this. They can, do some extension activities with Native American ideas in the background. Another thing is that we become aware of upcoming tests, whether it be state tests, the science exams, the ELA, the math. Principals in that will let us know when they're coming up so that we can take and spend a little extra time, doing math drills or things like that. And then we also know what day the test is, so we know those kids are going to come to us that day, maybe exhausted from being stressed over taking the test, so we can adjust our schedule that way. We've had vastly improved relationships with the schools and our partners. We've always had a good relationship, but these meetings have really brought us together as quite a team. The principals really have an ownership in the program. They want to see us succeed, so they do all they can to help us out. It allows all of our partners to provide feedback. It's a caring environment. We are all there working towards the common goal of providing enrichment opportunities for children in a safe place, and because of that, it's a great place to brainstorm and just share constructive criticism so that we can be the best program possible. We've really improved our knowledge of resources available. There's so many times at a meeting that it may, for the outsider, may seem like we're getting off track, but in reality, we're brainstorming, and a couple of weeks ago, my children are second and fourth graders, and they came home with a new activity, a computer program called Extra Math, where they can go online and practice their math facts. And I thought, gee, if we're doing this at one school, I'm not sure they're doing it at all the schools. I brought it up at one of our partner meetings, and from then on, even though they may not be doing it during the school day in all the schools, we're working towards having each child enrolled in this extra math program so that if they have a spare 5 minutes in tutoring or in any activity, they can hop on the computer and do some math drills for 5 minutes. We also share, our tutors have access to all the books that our students use during the school day. So if they come to tutoring and say, oh, gee, I don't have my social studies book, we can say, great, we have a copy here. Let's get down and get this homework done. We also have an increased awareness of professional development opportunities. Our site coordinators, as Nora said earlier, a different school does the PBIS. Our site coordinators attended the training and are on committees at all our schools for PBIS. We've had our math coordinator for the school district has provided training for us on the new curriculum in math, provided us many resources to use, and our CSE chair has provided us training for the past 2 years on behavior management. So as a result of these partner meetings, we feel that we really have been able to truly extend the school day learning, and it's been a great partnership for all of us.
Great. Thank you so much, Krista. I appreciate that.
Thanks.
Our next presenter is Lisa Hiley from ENCOMPASS Partnership in Rochester.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello. Great. Thank you. I wanted to share first a little bit about ENCOMPASS, and then I'll jump into how we're fostering and leveraging both financial and resource partnerships in the Rochester area. So ENCOMPASS is a nonprofit organization in Rochester, New York. We serve about 1,700 school-age youth during the year in academic support and tutoring programs, as well as expanded learning opportunities occurring both during the school year and during summer months. All of our programming is school-based, and we do rely heavily on ongoing public and private partnerships to integrate with the buildings, the schools, the districts, to implement, evaluate, and sustain programming. Our expanded learning programming occurs after school and during the summer months and is characterized by inquiry-based learning and targeted tutoring with additional elements of physical and social emotional wellness programming. All of our staff, including our frontline staff and our leadership staff, are engaging in both the data collection and data-driven process to inform both the instruction in the program as well as the program implementation itself. Our student outcomes are measured as well as elements of program quality, so using tools like the NYSAN QSA and so on. I would like to mention that in our programs, all of our programs are identified as priority and focus schools, and also many of the students, we have about a 85% or greater free and reduced lunch program eligible students. So the expanded learning time opportunities offered by ENCOMPASS are essential in adding the additional time and support that I think Nora has nicely referenced in presenting the paper. We do specifically partner with the districts to identify, and the school to identify students who struggle with the high stakes testing that's so ever present in the schools that are identified as persistently low performing. So through partnership, ENCOMPASS is able to sustain and collaborate efforts at the school level, the district level, the community level, and the state level as well to align our programming with state ed's school reform agenda. I wanted to talk specifically, I wanted to talk generally about several points, but then specifically about a couple. So Nora presented earlier about the alignment of ELOs with the school reform agenda, and I wanted to comment on 6 of the elements, but 3 specifically. So first was the need for ELO programs to align with school reform by collaboratively planning with the school, the district, and the community. So we're doing that in both a financial sense as well as a human capital resource sense. So through partnerships at the building levels, we are currently in 5 school buildings. We identify the students, and those are students who have performed poorly or below grade level expectations on state testing the prior years. We are also able to partner with the schools and the leadership within the schools to identify staff. So the majority or all of the people that are working in our program are certified teachers or content area experts. So we work very intentionally with the leadership of the building to identify those staff as a strong linkage to the school day to support the students that they already know. That doesn't mean that all of the students have the same teachers after school, but is a relationship that they're already familiar with. The other way that, another way that we collaboratively plan with the school is by aligning with their PBIS and their SEL or social emotional initiatives. So we're using a common language consistent expectations so that the students aren't engaging in a program where there's a different way to share expectations for participation. We're also planning at the school level for scheduling. So we're scheduling around state tests. We're scheduling around superintendent's conference days and so on and so forth. So we're really thinking about when should we offer programming that makes most sense for the students as well as the school community, because we really take seriously the culture and the community of each school in which we work in. Another example of the collaborative planning at the school, the district, and the community level is how we fund our programs. So we are an organization that funds our programs through public-private partnerships. So we're leveraging donor dollars with state dollars to be able to offer our programs in schools at no cost for any of the students or families that are participating. We further partner with the Rochester City School District, for example, for leveraging facilities as well as transportation. So all of our programs offer transportation from the school to home after the program day. So that really drives up our attendance in all of the programs. I also wanted to speak just generally about the evidence-based instructional practices in alignment with the Common Core state standards. So as I indicated, we are an organization that provides inquiry-based after-school opportunities with a strong focus on targeted tutoring. So all of our academic coaches are certified teachers who are familiar with ELA and math standards as well as expectations for the high-stakes testing. In addition to that, we intentionally build our after-school curriculum, our inquiry-based curriculum frameworks, to align with Common Core state standards as well as the habits of mind. So what are the capacities of a literate individual? Those are what are previous state tests asking of students? What is Engage New York telling us about curriculum maps and curriculum frameworks at the state level? What is the district putting forth as far as their curriculum maps and expectations of state standards and New York State learning standards as well? So building our curriculum so that we're really supporting students in active participation through inquiry that further reinforces what they're doing during the day in meeting grade level standards. Another way we're aligning with evidence-based and instructional practices is by participating with organizations like GRASA and GRSLA, which are local networks for after school, as well as the University of Rochester's Institute for the Family. So we're really trying to think about how we link the instructional practices with families as well. I wanted to speak a little bit about how we go through a program evaluation and continuous improvement process. So we're really an organization who's living the challenges of program evaluation and continuous improvement on a daily, a weekly, and a monthly basis. We do have internal leadership structures and processes that promote program evaluation and continuous improvement. So we are aligning activities of programs with indicators and outcomes. We have measures that are also aligned with those, and a management information system that allows us to capture the complexity of both student-level data, but also program-level data, so that we can use that information in more real time to inform our programming. In addition, we contribute to the Rochester Area Quality Work Group around aligning standards and moving towards aligning measures for quality after-school programs. And what does that mean in our particular community, and what does that mean, as we've indicated, for data sharing? So through a few of these processes, we've been able to commit to building some problem-solving capacity within our own organization so that we don't have to rely heavily on external evaluators who are available and certainly expert in what they do, but not intimately aware of what goes on a daily, a weekly, and a monthly basis in the program, so that we can really learn from ourselves and we can really learn and capture all of the data that is powerful to drive programming. Another piece I wanted to hit on was how we are focusing on sustained funding. So as I mentioned, we're an organization that relies on public-private partnerships to be able to provide our programming. So we're thinking about partnerships at a school, a district, a community, a state, and a county level. So through fundraising, grants, and leveraging county dollars with private funds, we are able to offer our programs, like I said, at no cost. And we're also able to leverage those relationships with the Rochester City School District, as well as other charter and rural districts, to provide in-kind support as far as facilities and so on. So we're able to offer our programs at schools where students are to increase participation as well as family involvement. Which leads me to my next point. I wanted to comment briefly about how we're using partnerships, public-private partnerships, to engage with families. When I say engage with families, I mean a positive and two-way engagement with families. So it's not just inviting them into a program. It's really intentionally building in some structures within our program, so we can think about how do we get the voice of parents to be reinforced in our program, so that we're aligning with what NYSAN and State Ed and so on tell us a good program looks like, but also what a family and a student tells us what a good program is looking like. So we partner with the Institute for the Family from the University of Rochester Medical Center to inform our programming. They work directly with our staff, providing on-site consultation as well as professional development and professional learning opportunities. In addition to that, we partner at the school level. So we hire typically school liaisons or family involvement coordinators from during the school day to work as family involvement coordinators in our after-school programs as well, to further link with families, to talk about attendance, to talk about participation, to drum up support for our student showcases and so on. We're also working to make sure that we hear back from those families. So what are you hoping your child will take away from their experience in one of our after-school or expanded learning opportunities, so that we're really keeping communication both positive and two-way, from the family to the program, as well as from the program to the family. The last area I wanted to comment on is how we partner to think about social emotional learning and development and align with the school-based PBIS systems. And I think I did briefly hit upon this, but we are really, in each one of our schools, there is a focus on social emotional learning, but each of the schools uses a different curriculum or a different framework to reinforce concepts of social emotional learning. So we really try and have meetings and talk about what does it mean in this school, what is the language, and we are able to do that, I think, more easily because we are hiring site coordinators and we are hiring staff from during the day, so they are able to benefit from some of the professional development that exists during the school day to reinforce those same expectations and those same skills and competencies that are being reinforced during the day during the after-school program. So we're really thinking about, as an organization, how we can provide programming that's both innovative and high quality to youth in the schools as well as the families and communities in which they're living. We are certainly an organization that's committed to mission-driven programming and values-based programming, but that really is thinking about how do we partner and how do we partner at schools, districts, community, county, and state levels to provide youth who are often struggling with the demands of underperforming schools with the rigorous expectations of today's Common Core state standards and so on. So the financial, professional, and partnership resources that we're able to leverage are really going into continuously improving access to our expanded and community-based expanded learning opportunities with the purpose of improving academic and social successes for all of the kids that are participating in the NYSAN after-school programs.
Thank you so much, Lisa. I really appreciate that insight. Our next presenter is Allie Tan from the Fund for Public Schools in New York City, speaking about the New York City Summer Quest program.
Great. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Terrific. Thank you for having me. So I wanted to start off by just giving you a roadmap. So what I'd like to do is just give you a brief overview of New York City's NYC Summer Quest, which is a 3-year summer learning pilot initiative, talk a little bit about best practices between school CBO collaborations who implemented the programs, and then just share some feedback that we got from the educators as well as some preliminary results. And so, Summer Quest has been a collaborative effort from the start. It was initiated by New York City Schools Chancellor Dennis Walcott and DYCD Commissioner Jeannie Mulgrave, as well as the Fund for Public Schools, following a summer learning forum held by the National Summer Learning Association, which gave the city some recommendations about how to make summer learning a key component of a strategy for improving student outcomes. And based on sort of the research around summer learning loss, we saw this as an amazing opportunity and strategy for closing the achievement and opportunity gap. So this is an initiative that has experienced a high level of sort of top leadership support in New York City, and it sort of from there has become a public-private partnership where we work with a task force of members, which includes not only the 3 city agencies, but private funders who help support the work, leveraging public dollars, as well as external partners such as NSLA, Task, PACE, and the Hive New York City. These folks have been amazing thought partners throughout the process in advising us on the design, implementation, and policy questions associated with making summer learning more than just a direct service pilot program, but really a strategy that is both sustainable and scalable. The other level of kind of partnership is that the folks who are implementing these programs are school CBO partners who were asked to develop a joint application in response to a competitive RFA process. And last summer we selected 11 out of 45 of them, and they served over 1,120 elementary and middle school students. So, you know, I have kind of the initiative goal written there, and it's about closing the achievement gap, promoting student engagement, involving families and partners, and also encouraging health and fitness, which is something that often falls off in the summer, where kids are gaining a lot of weight in the summer because they don't have the structured activities that they have during the school year. So just to do a quick overview of the key program features so you have a sense of the scale, et cetera. This is a program that targets elementary and middle school students who are in need of academic and social emotional learning support. And we did sort of a data analysis across the district of New York City to see kind of where the highest needs were. And the highest needs districts were in the South Bronx, which is probably no coincidence that that's one of the poorest congressional districts in the nation. This program meets for 5 weeks, which leverages when school buildings are open for mandated summer school students. It runs Monday through Friday, and it's a full-day program from 8 to 5:30. It was implemented by school CBO partnerships. We provided them a general curriculum framework that was aligned to the Common Core and instructional expectations for the school year. And really, it was for each partnership to either purchase a curriculum that was aligned to Common Core and sort of intentionally work out sort of how they were going to make the program project-based and aligned. But some actually sort of developed their own curriculum just based on, you know, an extension of what was going on during the school year and areas where they wanted students to have some exposure that they didn't have time for the school year. So there was great alignment there. The model includes arts and STEM enrichment, youth development, sports and recreation, and field trips. And the whole idea is that, you know, sites choose a theme so that they can align the academic support with the enrichment and field trips and exposure to sort of the world outside their school community. And then we also ask that participants or the school CBO partners plan for parent and caregiver engagement opportunities to bring them into the school and really develop and strengthen the relationships with the families. So on the next slide, I just wanted to share a few best practices. NSLA, the National Summer Learning Association, served as our formative evaluation partner, and some things that they called out, but we also saw were that, you know, plan and design programming around complementary resources and expertise. We saw some of the most successful sites really sort of came together as partners in a very intentional way. So we would have a school that was focused on science and math, and the principal said what we really need support on is around the arts, and so they chose an arts education organization as their partner. Another principal said, you know, our big issue is kind of gang violence and conflict resolution, and so we would like a partner that really has a strong focus on social emotional learning. And that was a partnership that they pulled together. The next is that even within the RFA that we released, we said, school CBOs need to commit to joint planning before and during the summer, and that's both at the leadership level but also in the line staff level. And while that was required, we saw sort of varying degrees of implementation, but where it really happened, both before and during, and I mean like on a daily basis, we saw really the most successful results. So we had an example of one elementary school and an arts organization, and they met the teachers, the DOE teachers and the CBO staff who were co-facilitating met every day at lunch, and when you walked into a classroom, oftentimes you couldn't tell who was the DOE teacher and who was the teaching artist. It was so seamless and integrated. Another set of findings were, we had some sites that did in-session professional development. So, they would bring together all the teachers and CBO staff and focus on problem solving and reflection. And this was a really great opportunity for sites to do mid-course correction or to get some coaching from an instructional coach who would do observations. And the last, I guess, really key piece was that, we wanted to create a strong summer camp feeling and spirit. So even though this was housed in school buildings and, staffed by many of the school teachers at the school that was hosting the program, in our survey results, kids and parents often said, we learned so much, and it wasn't school, and it was learning, but it was fun, and it was so different. And so I think the district has really come to see the incredible value of the school CBO partners in delivering this kind of comprehensive programming. So my next two slides are just sharing out results, and I know that we're kind of pressed for time, but just to call out on the next slides, these are some quotes that we have from the teacher and CBO educators, and they saw a lot of value in co-facilitating these programs. And then on the last slide, we have just some of the preliminary results, which were that, the program designed the sort of high-needs students it was designed to serve. We had a proficient level of attendance in our first year, which we're really excited about. We had some statistically significant findings in the middle school participants feeling more connected to school and more confident in their ability to do challenging work. And then lastly, the parent satisfaction survey responses were quite high. So I'm hoping that you'll get a copy of this deck, and you can always feel free to reach out if you have more interest in Summer Quest.
Thank you so much, Allie. I really appreciate it. Because of our technical difficulties at the beginning, we did run a little long. We do have a few moments for those of you who can stay on a little longer. I am going to unmute your phones. If you would like to ask a question, would you raise your hand so that we don't have everybody talking at once? You also can submit questions in writing via the chat feature, and our participants will try to stay on for 5 or 6 more minutes, just so we do get a little bit of a chance for a discussion. So if you can just make sure. So to unmute yourself, if you have a question you want to ask, it's *6. And we will be posting a copy of the PowerPoint. We will send it to the people who attended, but we also will be posting an archived copy of this webinar, including the audio recording, as soon as we figure out technically. We've got a technical assistance guru who's going to help us get that posted. We will share with the participants where we have posted that webinar as soon as it is up and running. All right, well, it looks like we don't have anyone stepping in with questions, so we are going to go ahead and thank you so much for your participation today. I'm really grateful to our 3 fabulous presenters, Allie Tan, Lisa Hiley, and Krista Camarada. You have in their PowerPoints their email addresses if you'd like to follow up with them about any specific questions you have on the different ways that they are working with their school community partners to really facilitate these deep relationships. As you can see, some pretty exciting things going on in New York. Very impressive engagement on both the school and the community-based organization level to really try to help to work together with children. So I want to thank, again, all of our presenters very much, and I really appreciate all of you who joined us today. Feel free to reach out to me as well if you have any questions. Thank you.